Hello, my name is Jamie, and I'm going to be talking about my professional disposition self-assessment survey, along with the 5 questions that were listed in our week 4 assignments. The first question is what qualities, behaviors, and values are indicative of a professional school counselor, and what standards guide guide my thinking and actions. And I think that's also a good segue into the second question, like what dispositions do I possess that will make a successful school counselor? And I would think that for sure educators should exercise sound judgment and ethical behavior, that we should be aware starting at the very beginning that not everybody has the same background, not everybody has the same luxuries as another person, and not everyone's parents are the same, and not everyone has their life on a silver platter. There's so many different people with so many different stories to tell just from 8th grade below, and it's crazy how different people were raised. And with that, we have to make sure that we have a sound judgment, that we can't judge anybody based on those things, that we, at the end of it all, that we just want to connect with these students and make sure that they're okay and that they're taken care of in the short time that we have them throughout the week. And that later on in life that we at least put some sort of inspiration in them to make sure that their life that we were seeing and that they were growing up in isn't what they need to be living in from here on out. That they can go and live off and be in their dreams and be able to succeed without having to feel like they were left behind and they have to stay in one position for their whole life. And another disposition that I feel pretty confident in is that we demonstrate professional friendliness, warmth, and genuine caring in our relationships with others, while we're also providing intellectual, emotional, and spiritual support. I work at a very small charter school with not a lot of staff and not a lot of teachers, and we do make sure that we are taking care of one another, that if something's wrong, that we're going to help each other fix it, that we're not going to sit there and be spiteful and be mean and talk behind each other's backs, that we're going to sit there as a team, figure it out, and move on, and just make sure that in the end, it's not about how we feel towards each other, it's how we're presenting ourselves to our kids to make sure that our kids know that you can have a good relationship with adults and that we are helping each other be better as opposed to just trying to bring each other down. Because that's not going to be a good atmosphere for them to be in, especially, like I mentioned before, a lot of traumatic family experiences that kids see at home once they're home, that they don't need to have that be seen at a school setting. So I think for sure where I'm at in a small charter school that we are working on making sure that we just demonstrate a lot of friendliness and a lot of love and kindness in a family setting that they probably are not familiar with in some households. And how do dispositions demonstrate your ability to understand other cultures, genders, and learning differences to build a stronger relationship with students and families? Again, it is just going down to being open-minded and making sure that you are aware that you were not raised in that position, or you were not raised in a bilingual family, or a separated family, or a traumatized family, or a separated and brought together family, or a family that's dealing with CFSS or DES or DCS, that you just need to be open-minded and just listen to what the child has to say and listen to what the students have for concerns, and just be open-minded. Again, don't sit there and just talk about how your background was, or back in my day, this is how it was, or back in my parents' days, like this is how they were raised and this is how it should be. That it should be more on how they're feeling at that moment, how we can build up on that, and how we can fix it, or how we can make them feel welcome and comforted and know that we are a safe place for them, that they do not need to be ashamed or worried or scared about who they are and who they want to be raised to be. And what dispositions do we need to work on before we enter a first-year school counselor program? I listed 2 dispositions here. I just started my first year as a school counselor at this very small charter school, and one thing that I found really difficult, especially working with a lot of behavior kids, is that we should believe that all students can learn and should set and support realistic expectations for them to succeed. That doesn't mean that every student that I'm going to see is going to go to Harvard or go to an Ivy League school. That could be a step at least going to high school, or at least graduating high school and thinking about college, or at least just going further than what they expect. A lot of our behavior children do not have a lot of goals. They do not have a lot of connections with adults or with their parents or with anybody, that they're very isolated. And we do need to set individual goals that, yeah, it's nice that no student is left behind, but we also need to make sure that every student has their own unique goal set, as opposed to every child that we have in this school is going to go to high school and they're going to have straight A's. That's not necessarily the case. And that is something that I needed to learn right from the get-go, that, yeah, this person doesn't have an A plus or straight A's, but they have C's, and that is so much better than what they had last year when they were failing and that they got held back. Just seeing development and making sure that any progress is good progress. And in the last question, how do I anticipate using feedback from my performances and my data and adjust my dispositions and teachings? This is something that I fell right into in my first year. We do evaluations and we do drop-ins all the time at our school, where we have our principal come in, or we have somebody come in, or a vice principal, or another principal from another campus come in and evaluate us and show us that, yeah, you're on the right track, but this might help you. This might encourage you to go to a different direction or teach in this way. Or maybe you should lower your voice at this moment and maybe you should bring it back to this lesson plan and bring it back around. And I never felt like I was somebody who had a difficult time with criticism until I had to do an evaluation where somebody was like, well, you could be a little nicer. And hearing that for the first time was really hurtful, but then also knowing that it's coming from a place of love. Like I mentioned before, that we are all very professional and we're all very friendly. And if you're brand new to it, you might not be aware of it. I was not aware of it, but looking back now, it was nice. I'm glad that they're telling me, and I'm glad that they're working with me, and they're not just immediately continuing to let me go down that path without like trying to like push me in one direction or another. Like, this is how you need to go. Maybe go like this, or maybe turn another direction. And that helped out a lot moving forward. And using a lot of data. We do use a lot of data with our behavior kids, where we check on them every hour, that we are in that classroom, or we are peeking in that classroom just to make sure that they're not flipping out or throwing chairs or hurting themselves or hurting another person. That data is like, today this person did not hurt anybody, compared to last week when they were throwing chairs and screaming and yelling at the top of their lungs. Like, we have to use that as progress. Again, we just have to be open-minded, and we have to know that these children are our first priorities. And once we have that progress set and met, we can get them to succeed and go further in their life than they could probably imagine. So thank you for listening, and thank you so much.